Tonight we are going to finally begin Euclid Book 11. Now I know there are going to be a lot of people out there saying, well, where is your big orange compass? We will get to that, alright? But we have to start with a few basic definitions. So this is Euclid Book 11, and this is part 1 of the definitions. There are a lot of definitions, and some of these are pretty lengthy. So, let's start with the simple ones first. A solid. We're going to identify this as a solid. You say, well, that's a cube. Well, it's also a solid. So what is a solid? A solid is that which has length, breadth, and depth. This is the length, this is the breadth, and this is the depth. So that is because this object has length, breadth, and depth, that's a solid. An extremity of a solid is a surface. Okay, now think of this like an empty cardboard box. Each side of that cardboard box is going to be a surface. Okay? It's only when you start including all the area inside the box as well as the surfaces that you have the actual solid. Okay? So the extremities of a solid is a surface. A straight line is at right angles to a plane. So now we're going to establish that this straight line right here is at right angles to this plane right here. Basically what we're saying is this line right here is at right angles with this surface. Okay? A straight line is at right angles to a plane when it makes right angles with all the straight lines which meet it and are in the plane. Okay? So the straight lines would be this one here, and actually you could draw a line from here to here. And this line would still be at right angles to that line, as well as this line, as well as that line. And every line in between. As long as the lines are in this plane and they're meeting this line, then that line is at right angles to all those lines. Okay. A plane is at right angles to a plane. So we're going to say that this surface here, okay, the one here up front, or we can say this surface right here. Let's just say this surface right here is at right angles to this surface right here. How do we know this? When the straight lines drawn in one of the planes at right angles to the common section of the planes are at right angles to the remaining plane. So if we drew a bunch of lines from here to here, we just drew line after line after line. This is the common section between this plane and this plane. Okay? So, when the straight line's drawn in one of the planes, so we draw a bunch of straight lines in this plane, if they are at right angles to the common section of the planes, okay, so they're going to be at right angles to this common section, and these lines also have to be at right angles to every line in this plane. Okay? Now, what is the inclination of a straight line to a plane? Now, we just covered inclination in a previous video. Let's go through this. The inclination of a straight line to a plane is assuming a perpendicular drawn from the extremity of the straight line, which is elevated above the plane, to the plane, and a straight line joined from the point thus arising to the extremity of the straight line which is in the plane, the angle contained by the straight line so drawn, and the straight line standing up. The inclination of a plane to a plane is the acute angle contained by the straight lines drawn at right angles to the common section at the same point, one in each of the planes. Now, some of this will make more sense as we continue with these Euclid lessons. A plane is said to be similarly inclined to a plane as another is to another when the set angles of the inclinations are equal to one another. Parallel planes are planes that never meet. This plane up here on top and this plane down here on the bottom will never meet. This plane right here and this plane right here will never meet. So on and so forth. And then we start off with similar solid figures, and this is definition number 9. I'm not going to get into definition number 9 tonight, but now you've got the first 8 definitions of Euclid Book 11. What an interesting presentation. I told you I'd start at Euclid Book 11 tonight, and I did. Alright, so hopefully you'll take the time and you'll memorize everything I've just told you. Hopefully you enjoyed my presentation tonight, because we're one step closer to pulling out my orange compass and having some real fun. Alright, this is Ted the Speed Learner signing off. I will tell you more in a future video, so I want you to stay tuned.